dive a little deeper into a quote. So let's just say I am selling a potential buyer and I have a lot of goods and they want to get a quote from me to see how much everything is going to cost. So we've discussed it and they asked me to send over a quote. So inside of Zoho CRM, what I would end up doing is I'd go over to a deal and I would move over to a quote and I'd click on this quick add button. And then from here, the associations are made for me. So that's the advantage of doing it from the deal, is you don't want to get into this mode where you're constantly associating to other records, because then you're going to question why you use the system. It's going to be kind of a drag. So the best practice if you're going to create a quote is you do it from the deal. Then from here, what you're able to do is throw in a subject, let's do demonstration, quote. And then you can move over to quoted items. Now, this is where there can be some confusion, right? Because a quote represents what you are potentially going to sell somebody. But a quote doesn't just represent that, it represents the products and it represents line items. So really, this one, let's call it object, which is a digital representation of a real thing, right? Represents both the quote and the product and line item specific information. So what you need to worry about here is if you're going to quote people, you need to make sure that you've entered all of your items. And this will set you up for success not only in Zoho CRM, but if you end up using the other Zoho applications like Zoho Inventory and Zoho Books, this can integrate over to those applications as well. The important thing for you to do is make sure that you add your products, that way you can select them, and then you'll notice this information populates as well. But here's the thing, I can change it, right? But if I change this price to $3,000 about, and I change the quantity, this new list price does not affect the product price. That price will stay the same, which is nice because sometimes you need to change the price for who you're selling to. Maybe they're buying in bulk and you have a discount. Maybe you want to apply a discount specific to this purchase, which you're able to do. That's what the quote is for. And once the quote is created, you're able to go up here and you're able to send over a preview of the quote to a prospective buyer. And so you can go up here and then you can go over to send email. And then you can send an email out for signature. So we'll do quote template here. You'll notice the line items have merged over and you can send an official quote over to a prospective buyer right from Zoho CRM, which is pretty powerful stuff. Now, what you can also do from here is you can convert this quote over to a sales order in Books with a custom piece of code. Unfortunately, that doesn't come out of the box in Zoho CRM, but it's important to understand this for best practices' sake. Because if you're going to send out a quote inside of Zoho CRM and you close the deal, you win the deal, then especially if you're moving physical goods, you need to make sure that it becomes a sales order. And you could handle that within Zoho CRM, but I wouldn't recommend it. And the reason I wouldn't recommend it is you can't send an invoice out and collect payment from Zoho CRM. You need to do that in Zoho Books. And so what I want to help you understand here is from a quote, you need to push that information over to a sales order inside of Zoho Books. And then from the sales order, which acts as a master record, you can create a corresponding invoice and you can create multiple invoices, right? Because maybe you're doing multiple payment installments on a single sale. And then you can break it out into a purchase order. In case you need to procure goods from a vendor, you'll have the sales order there, the invoice, and the purchase order. And that all stems from the quote, right? And you may have multiple quotes over time too that are associated to a deal, because you may send over a quote and people are like, hey, I want 3 of these. hey, let's change the quoted item number 6, and can we get a discount potentially because we're buying so much, whatever it might be. So hopefully that shows you the different breakdown within records after you complete a quote. And this gets really confusing because if you look, there are Zoho CRM specific sales orders, purchase orders, and invoices. But these don't have as robust functionality as, let's say, Zoho Books, in that if I send out an invoice, I can't collect payment. And so be aware of those things in Zoho CRM because it can get really confusing really fast. And with that, that's how you can use a quote inside of Zoho CRM. Let's say we're working a